decision makers in general, they hide behind stoicism and they put up this shell of who you think they are. And behind it is a very vulnerable human that wants something. They act on this. Really, the core of what they want is money or happiness. It's one of those two things. What does an FBI agent have to do with you and your recruiting business and getting more clients? So this is Lex Freeman. He's got a great podcast, and Chris Voss, who's a former FBI guy, and they're debating between empathy and reason and what's more important in a negotiation, or in Chris's experience when he's talking to a terrorist or somebody who is a high threat. Let's listen to this little clip or this bit from the Lex Freeman podcast.
I talked to him about empathy versus reason, and he lands heavily on reason.
You make up your mind based on what you care about, period. You see some guy swimming and you see a shark coming up behind him. Who are you cheering for? If it's Adolf Hitler out there, you're cheering for the shark. The original definition of empathy was an interpretation of a German word where people were trying to figure out what the artist was trying to convey. It was always about understanding where somebody was coming from, but not sharing necessarily the same thing.
So I completely agree with Chris here, especially in a business context. And what jumped to mind, I don't know if it's in that bookcase behind me, was Aziz Ansari's book. Yes, the comedian has a book out there. I think I picked it up at the airport when I was traveling from Canada. It's a book that's focused on the psychology of dating and really the history of dating, focused more in the last, I would say, 100 years. But the psychology of dating is very similar to the psychology of business and how human the process can be. In the dating world, I think we all do this, where we say, I want a person who is XYZ. We all know somebody who we grew up with. It's a sister or a girl that we knew that wanted somebody nice, and then they're on the back of a motorcycle with the guy that just came out of jail type thing. But in business, people do make decisions based on emotion, a lot more than you think. So I pulled this up. It says, decision making is a complex process that requires the orchestration of multiple neural systems. For example, decision making is believed to involve areas of the brain involved in emotion. Amygdala, I don't even know how to say that. Ventromedial, prefrontal cortex, I know where that is, very reptilian part of the brain, I guess you could say. But I remember when I first got started in business, especially in sales. And for me, I just thought business was so black and white. It's you need a service, you need a recruiter, I'm a recruiter, and this just makes sense. People in tech and in corporate and decision makers in general, they hide behind stoicism and they put up this shell of who you think they are, especially at the beginning of whenever you're entering into a space. And behind it is a very vulnerable human that wants something. They act on this. And really, the core of what they want is money or happiness. It's one of those two things. They either want to build more wealth or they want the money to be happier. And every person is so different. We've all worked with different human beings. Some are very money hungry. And if they make a bad decision, if they're not driving that revenue for the business, they feel like they're worth less. There's other people that are people pleasers. They just want to have the love and affection of their team members all around them. And by them choosing the right sources, the right recruiters, and looking like a good decision maker is very important to them. And that's also a value builder from a wealth perspective. And you don't understand that until you've been in sales and you've been on the other side, been on the buying side, been doing some selling. It's evident. And the best way to really grasp this is to evaluate yourself and how you've bought literally everything. Look at your car, look at your clothes. Really break down, why did you buy these things? I'm looking at what I'm wearing now. Why do I wear Nike and Under Armour? For anybody who's wearing Nikes, we all know what their third-party factories are doing overseas. Same with our iPhones, same with our cars. What these brands do is they make us feel an emotion. They connect us with wealth. Car commercials do this all the time. This is a representation of your wealth and how you're going to come off to other people. It's way more than looking under the hood and looking at an engine or looking at a pair of shoes. So that's why when you're building a business, it is so important to send the right signals in every angle that you can. This is why I talk about websites all the time. This is why I talk about how you're speaking to somebody on the phone. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to make that human connection and make them feel more confident in who you are and what you can do.